Hi everyone, I am here today with a reading wrap up. I am hoping I am finally back into reading enough for this to be a weekly reading wrap up. I think it's been 2 weeks, since I last uploaded one of these, and in that time I've managed to devour 4 books, or rather 3 audiobooks and then a bit of a shaky thing with a NetGalley book. But yes, let's get into it. So the first book I want to talk about today is the NetGalley book that I mentioned. So that is Den of Shadows, and this is by Christopher Byford. So as I said, I received this from the publisher via NetGalley in return for an honest review, and I gave this book 1 star. To make it very clear, I didn't actually finish this book. I DNF'd it, which if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll realise that that's not something I really do. So I DNF'd this book. I think I DNF'd it at 65%, but I read properly up to 50%, then I skim read like another 15% before ditching it. And so I've basically, for any written reviews anyway, I've just put that I read up to 50% because that is the accurate where I was reading to properly. And I didn't get on with this book at all. I feel like this book perhaps is good for the right kind of people, and that it was being marketed wrong, and also that it just wasn't really my cup of tea. So this is a fantasy novel. It's basically about this train that has been kitted out to be like a massive gambling den, basically. And it goes into financial trouble and it stops off at all these different places. I thought it'd be quite a sort of fantastical, interesting, exciting kind of book where, you know, you meet some interesting characters, and it just sounded like a fun, quick read because it was also listed as being not very many pages. So I was like, oh yes. And then when it came to it, my Kindle said it was going to take me about, I can't remember how many hours now, but 7 or 8 hours to read. And I was like, for a 200 odd page book, what the heck? And some people's reviews on Goodreads said that it was going to be a really quick read, like they got through it really quickly. Then other people had felt similar to me about it. And I was like, how is this varying this much? It's almost like I've been sent a different version of the book. I don't feel like I got what I was requesting with this book. I don't want to go into too much detail as I am going to be uploading a full review for this on Saturday, but basically what I got was a very slow-paced book. I feel it lacked a lot of the intrigue and fantasy elements I was looking for. The characters were not even remotely likeable, because if you like the characters and you're not enjoying the book, you can sometimes push yourself through it still, because you're thinking, well, I like the characters, so I'll see where it goes, but I didn't like the characters. As I said, the plot was very slow-paced. I did temporarily find the odd little bit here and there interesting. I really enjoyed sort of learning little bits about the train, but those bits were just too few and far between. It was just too slow-paced, too boring, and I feel really liberated that I actually managed to DNF a book. So yeah, keep an eye out for my spoiler-free review of that on Saturday if you are looking to learn more about that. And so on to happier things. So I finished 3 audiobooks since my last wrap-up video. I loved them all to different extents basically, but this one that I'm about to talk to you about now is probably just like, oh, I'm so glad I listened to it. It came along at just the right time. And this is 3 Wishes by Liane Moriarty, and I've read one other book by Liane Moriarty before, and that was The Husband's Secret. I read that a couple of years ago as a physical copy. Really enjoyed it. So since then I've been keeping in the back of my mind that I need to try more works by this author, and so picking up the audiobook of this a while ago, I finally got around to listening to it. I gave it 5 stars, which I didn't think I was necessarily going to do at the very beginning of the book. I keep getting out of breath, I'm so out of practice from recording videos, sorry. Whew, talk slower. So I didn't think I was going to be loving this book quite as much as I did at the very beginning, just because it took me a couple of chapters to sort of adjust to listening to the narrator talk from different perspectives. I was sometimes getting a little bit lost. I didn't know whose perspective I was getting. I didn't even properly know who the people were yet to understand about the different perspectives, and so I felt like that was a little bit of an iffy area with the audiobook. So that's probably not an issue with the physical copy, so I wouldn't even worry about that if you're going to pick up a physical copy of this book. But yeah, it's just something to think about if you want to listen to the audio of this. But as I said, after a few chapters I sort of started adjusting to the characters, getting a feel for them, and that was no longer an issue. And actually I thought the audiobook narrator, Caroline Lee, did a fantastic job of sounding like the characters in the book. Like, her voice fit the characters so well for me. So this book follows a set of triplets in their early 30s called Liane, Kat and Gemma Kettle, and they live really quite, at times, drama-filled lives for people in their early 30s, but I find it's quite rare that I discover a book set for the sort of age group that I am. I've got no problems reading YA, I've got no problems reading any sort of books within reason really, but I find it's rare that I can find one that I can fully identify with, and since I am in my early 30s too, I really identified with some of the things that were going on in this book. I don't want to go too much into it because I feel like if you say too much with a book like this, you are just going to give away the whole entire point of even reading it. It's just a really fun contemporary novel, and if you want an insight into the world of triplets, I think you should give this a go. It was fun, the characters are just like, I fell in love with all three sisters for very different reasons. The family's just messed up, there's no better word for it. Their love lives are messed up, the whole situation's just a wonderful mess up. And yeah, I really can't recommend this book enough. I am definitely now a Liane Moriarty fan, and to be fair, I've already been collecting a lot of her books anyway and through their various different versions, but now she's definitely just an auto-buy author for me. I can't wait to read more of her books. So then the next audiobook I finished was I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, and again, I wasn't sure I was going to like this at the very beginning because it just took me a little while to adjust to the narrator and the setting and everything, even though I'm familiar with this book because I have seen the film before, many years ago though. I feel like with audiobooks you need that extra little that little extra time to just settle into the narrator as well as the story. So again, at the beginning I didn't think I was going to enjoy this one, but I gave this one 4 stars. So yeah, I really, after a couple of chapters, became truly hooked. For anyone familiar with this story, there is a bit that in the film as well just really gets to you. And from that point I was definitely like broken-hearted hooked. I really, really enjoyed this, and if you've enjoyed the film, you'll probably enjoy the book too. Give it a go. And so the final audiobook that I finished in the last couple of weeks was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. And this is the first book that I've actually read by Rainbow Rowell, and again I was a little bit hesitant going into it as an audiobook, but I shouldn't have worried, it totally worked. There was 2 different narrators, a female and a male, for 2 different parts as you get both perspectives, and I thought that worked really well and it avoided any confusion. I did find that my one problem with this book, which I gave 4 stars to in the end, is something that I wouldn't really have avoided no matter what form I picked up. It wouldn't matter whether I read a Kindle copy, a physical copy. Like, there is no escaping the teenage angst and drama in this book, and that is just what ticks me off a little bit. It's rare that I read a YA novel and think I'm too old for this, but occasions during this one I was sat there like, if I have to hear one more thing about like blah blah blah, I'm just like, I was just getting annoyed basically over really simple teenage drama stuff, and it was just driving me mad. But I really enjoyed the overall story in this. I really enjoyed the aspect of bullying in this, and I just thought it was a really cute story. And what is with that ending? Seriously. So that brings this wrap up to a close. I am hoping that this will, as I said, get me back onto weekly reading wrap-ups. I feel like I'm starting to really get into the devouring of books again, so hopefully I will be here this time next week, or even on time and on the Wednesday with another reading wrap-up. But yes, I really enjoyed these books, and I'm currently enjoying the books that I'm reading too. So my current audiobook is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I'm nearly 70% in, I think, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it. I find with audiobooks, I'm not always the best with reading fantasy on audio, and so maybe this is one that I'll reread the Kindle copy of and just check that I'm not missing something somewhere, basically. But yeah, it's okay, I'm just not loving it. My current Kindle read is The Fourth Monkey by J.D. Barker, and this is a book that I received from the publisher by NetGalley. I am just under halfway on this one and absolutely loving it. It's a mystery thriller kind of book, just my cup of tea. I'm just struggling to find time to read at night without falling asleep. Yeah, I'm due a holiday. In August, I'm going to do so much reading when I'm off work. As for physical books, I wish I could say that I'd picked up Night Film recently, but I haven't because I've done a really naughty thing. I treated myself to a physical copy of Lord of Shadows, even though I started reading it originally on my Kindle. And I've not really read much more of this either, but it's a beast. And I'm now, since I've got this wonderful, beautiful copy, I'm going to be finishing this book via physical form. So Night Film's got to wait until I finish Lord of Shadows, which is rather a beast, so that might take a while. But then, hopefully, by the time I am off in August, definitely, I'll be rereading the whole Harry Potter series, which is such an exciting thought. So yes, that is everything that I'm currently reading. Also, next week, I'm hoping to bring back the TBR bucket. I've been working on updating it the last week or so, adding all my purchases from the last year or so into there, and yeah, I feel like I'm neglecting some really old books that I've bought on my Kindle, and I did temporarily start doing something about that with the introduction of the TBR bucket, and I just sort of drifted off. So the TBR bucket is coming back, so watch out for that next week. And I think that brings me to the end of this wrap up and TBR video. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me just there if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you tomorrow with a little discussion video about me and DNFing books. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!